That is Shropshire Fidget or Fitchett Pie made. Look at that. That is spectacular. That really is high quality food right there. Hi everyone, welcome to Backyard Chef. I'm Rick. Today we're making the Shropshire Fidget Pie. Now we're going back to the 17th century, but I'm going to show you my way of making this 17th century classic. And it starts with making some pie dough. So we have to make some pastry. In here I've got the usual flour and my fats. So let's show you how to make the pastry, make the pie. And what we will be doing today, we will be using an 8-inch springform tin. So let's crack on and let's make this pastry. We've got shortening and butter. I'm going in with a pinch of salt, and then we're going to get in here and we are going to give it a mixing up. Just get your hands in, bring it together, finger and thumbs, nice and gently, just squash it in there. You know, and as you can see here, this is not cold butter by any means. It's butter that's been sat on the side. Not to worry, it'll still make a fantastic shortcut pastry. So nice and gently, finger and thumbs, lift up, squeeze together, lightly, just lightly squeeze together. And then all we do is we just lift up and give it a rub. Lift up, give it a rub. Rub it through our fingers and thumbs and just lift up and give it a rub. It's as easy as that. As you know, you can make pastry in a food processor and takes only a few seconds. However, it takes 10 minutes to clean, whereas you make the pastry in a bowl, it takes 5 minutes and 1 minute to clean the bowl. So this might be a better option. So lift up, give a rub, and what we're after is the consistency of breadcrumbs. Nice and straightforward. Lift, rub, rub through your finger and thumbs. Just lift up and rub. So there we go. That's looking okay. We've got a nice breadcrumb consistency there. Fantastic. I've got a bowl of water and I'm going to add apple cider vinegar to the water. I'm going to crack in an egg and we're going to give it a beating. Just beat it all up. And then we are going to add our beaten egg to our flour mixture. Get it in there. Turn over the fork you've been using and stir it in with a handle. And when you've got it mixed in as much as it'll go, we've got to get our hand in and bring it all together. Nice and straightforward this. Just bring it together gently so the dry stuff gets in with the wet stuff and we end up with a really nice workable dough. As you can see, this is a nice, crumbly, no-fail pastry. It looks superb. And just bring the ball together, and then we have too much for one pie here. We're going to split it in two. Now you can freeze one half of this, or you can just leave it in the fridge for another project. It's just easier to make this quantity because we use a whole egg. As you can see, it's nice, it's crumbly, well formed. All we need to do is roll it into a dish shape and put it in some cling film. We put it in the cling film, we wrap it up, and then it all goes in the fridge for 30 minutes. Now yes, I've done pastry and I leave it on the side, but recommended let it settle in the fridge for 30 minutes before rolling out. And the idea of rolling a dish like this it's just easier for us to roll out. So that's that one. We do the other bit. Want that little bit of a dish shape. That's it. So that's our 2 bits of pastry. We're just going to put this in the fridge for 30 minutes. Okay, we've got that pastry sitting in the fridge. While that's sitting in the fridge, we're going to prep the rest of the ingredients. Now I make it slightly different to everybody else. In here I've got some potatoes. So I've peeled the potatoes, as you can see, but they're still whole. I'm going to stick these on to boil. They're going to boil for about 7 minutes. Bring up to boil them for 7 minutes, just like that. I'm not slicing, not doing anything. I'm going to boil them, then I'm going to take them out, then I'm going to slice them. So I'm going to get these on to boil. I'm going to stick them on behind me while we do the rest at the front. So I'll put that on. Okay, so this pie is like a layer pie. We layered it up: potatoes, apples, onions, pork. We want to slice the onions. So just slice your onions. Any which way you want. We want some sliced onions. And we need to be shoving those in a bowl. Get them in your bowl. So we got a couple of very tart apples here. We're going to peel them, core them, slice them. Peel them and core them any which way you want, and then slice them up. So like I said, that's entirely up to you whether you use a peeler, use a knife, use one of those fancy corer things, up to you. So let's have that peeled off there. Now these are quite sour apples actually. So just core them up any which way you normally do. Straightforward. And then what we need to do is slice these. Slice these. And we're going to put our sliced apples in a bowl too. So like we say, that this actually came from the 17th century, you know, and at the time pork was the most common meat. And in the fields, apples and onions, they were staple crops, and cider was made. So this is a combination of all those ingredients in a pie. So there you are. That's how basically how the Shropshire Fidget or Fitchett Pie was created way back when. Right, I've got a couple of bottles of cider which we're going to be using. This in here is pork tenderloin. We're going to use pork tenderloin, and it's been cleaned up pretty well. Now, many recipes for this, you use cubed pork. Now, tenderloin is a really, as it says, a nice tender piece of pork. I'm not going to cube it. We're not going to do it the normal way. We're going to slice it across there like that. So we're going to end up with these pieces like this. In there. So like I say, I'm going to show you my way of cooking this. Now, originally, I'm 100% certain that they would have just thrown everything in the pie and cooked it. We're going to pre-cook. Okay, now we're going to pre-cook, but we're not going to pre-cook like you would expect to pre-cook. Now, this recipe is made with cider. This is a bottle of cider. We're going to chuck that in there. And we'll put the flame on. And we're going to put our pork in there. And we're going to poach the pork in the cider. Now, I told you I don't cook the same as everybody else. Now the idea of pre-cooking some of these ingredients is it's going to be too soggy in the pie. So we're just going to poach that pork until it's cooked a little minute. Now don't worry about the foam and all the rest of it. That's irrelevant. It'll stir back in. All we're doing is putting a quick boil on this pork. Cook it all the way through or just cook it 80%, up to you. But make sure you poach it in the cider. Now, if you're worried about alcohol and cooking, use apple juice. Apple juice will replicate this, not a problem. That is virtually cooked in there, a good 60% out to one side. And that is how I'm putting the pork in my pie. Now, like I say, many recipes for cooking raw. I'm not cooking raw, and we are using pork and not gammon or anything else that's got a pink colour on. We're using pork like you would the original recipe. Now that in there is our cider, as we know, and our pork juices. So we're going to add about a tablespoon of corn flour to that cider in there, and we're just going to give that a little stir in, dissolve it in there, and this is going to thicken slightly in here. We've got this lovely semi-thick cider meat mixture in there. That is going in our pie. We're having all the flavour in. So all this has to go to one side. Okay, they've had 7 minutes. Let's take those out of there. The red hot, so be a bit careful. All we're going to do is slice these. So slice. Now for the potatoes, they are now sort of par cooked, but as you can see, we want some reasonable chunks or reasonable slices of potato to line out our pie. The reason for cooking like this, not only is it partially cooked inside the pie, it's not going to drain out all the fluid from the potatoes into the pie, soggy it all up. Okay, so it's straightforward on our pie as usual. A little bit of flour on there, and we want to take one of our pastry discs. A little bit of flour on the pin, and let's start rolling. Okay, like I say, I'm using this 8-inch tin, and that'll fit in there, so let's get that in there. And in my tin I've got a little bit of parchment paper. I always put parchment paper in the bottom to line out the bottom. It's just easier to get the pie off. Right, and we want that pastry in there. Lift and drop. Leave an overhang. Okay, we got that in there, look. We've got a nice little bit of an overhang going around there. And that is exactly what we want. Okay, so now what we've got to do is form up our pie inside. Now we're going to start with some potato. I'm going to get the potato around there at the bottom. Nice layer of potato. Okay, and we want a layer of apple. Get your apple in, layer it out nice and evenly round there. Some onion. some of that pork. Some more potato. Now I'm going to do onions and then apple. And in there with some fresh sage. Now you can use dry sage if you want. That's up to you. I'm going to go in there now with a layer of black pepper. And we're going to put a little bit of salt in there. Now the black pepper is sitting on those onions, on top of those apples, on top of the pork. So it should be fine. You could season it all the way up if you so wished. Up to you. A little bit of salt in there. That's it. Now we need to get a layer of apples on there. Get those apples on. So this is really like a meat and potato apple pie. You know, I want the apples on the top, and hopefully when they start cooking, they're not going to cook all the way through, but what we're hoping for the apples to caramelize a little bit and the flavour seep down into the pie from the top. And that's going to give it that natural sweet sour taste from these sour apples. Now you can put sugar in here if you so wish on these apples now to make them sweet. That is up to you. Okay, remember that cider and corn flour mixture? Open that up in there and let's have that drained in. Okay, let's get some more apple on there. Right, now what we need to do is roll out a pastry top for that. Get back into our pastry. And we want a top. That's big enough for that. Take our pie, lay our pastry top over there, and you can see why we wanted to overhang this time. Give that a little shufty like that, and then all we're going to do is bring some of this over the top like that. And bring it in. So we're going to end up with quite a big crust. If you've got too much pastry like there is there, trim off. Trim off that bit, it's too much. Bring it over and squash it. Squash it inside the tin. Now don't worry about what it looks like at the moment. Come round, take off that little bit there. Turn over and squash in. Now this is a monster pie. The filling in here has got to hold. So just turn it over and squash it in. Don't worry about what it looks like, honestly. There's our pie top. Finger, thumb, two fingers, up to you. Put a little bit of a top on there like that. Squash your finger in between the two fingers. Just come that way around. Then you can see, just like that. So what is untidy at the moment suddenly becomes very tidy. And this is going to look like a fantastic, rustic, old-fashioned pie. Nice egg wash over the top. Give it that nice golden hue. when it cooks. That'll do. Right, we need to put some air vents in there. We've got to vent this. Now, put a few in. There's quite a lot of stuff in there that's got to be steaming out. That is going in the oven. Now that is a monster pie. 180, set the time, 35 minutes. And then we'll see what it's like. There we have it, finished. Oh, oh, that is incredible. That is a pie and a half. Just look at that beauty. That is absolutely fantastic. Right, all we're going to do now is we're going to let it cool down. We're going to have to give it 10 minutes and then we're going to crack open that ring. Okay, let's give this a crack, see if we can get this out of here. Beautiful, beautiful pie. That is fantastic. Right, we need to get that on a board. Just look at that. Still a bit warm actually. Still a bit warm, but do we cut into it? I think we do. It's a dilemma. It's a case of do you wait and let it set up, or do you cut it and take it out and risk it all falling down in the layers inside? Dilemma over. I'm gonna cut it. It smells amazing. Oh, let's get in here. Oh, it's a solid lump. Crumbly, crumbly pastry as always. Oh, look in there. Now that is a bit traditional. There's no gammon or cooked ham in there, that is pork. Serve it up. Oh, look in there. Look at that. That is Shropshire Fidget or Fitchett Pie made. Look at that. That is spectacular. That really is high quality food right there. That is superb. All we need to do now is get in and give it a try. Wow, look at that. That is a taste of Shropshire right there. Fidget pie made. It's like an apple pork pie with potato and onions. Where do you start? Do we just crush it all in? Oh, look, flaky, flaky pastry. Down through the apple, the onions, the pork, the sage, the pepper. Oh, come on. Oh. Pork tenderloin's definitely the way to go with this. You know, if you use another cut of pork, it might be chewy. This is not. It's just so tender, like the name says. Look, tenderloin. Look at that. That is beautiful. You've got your pastry, you've got your apple. Oh man. Now modern flavours are full of cream and things, you know. This is more traditional. This is superb. Right, we need to look at the bottom actually. So I'm just going to flop it all over. There you go. You've got a nice crispy bottom, if you can hear that. It didn't leak. That is fantastic. Straight in there, look. We got our potatoes, our onions. Oh, well, that is how I think the Fidget pie would have been made originally, before all the cream and everything was added. And a nice drop of cider. Oh, ah. Well, if you like what we're doing, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe, share with your friends, all that kind of stuff. I'll catch you in the next video.